Cannot believe it's been 3 years since I graduated from college. Where does the time go? I'm so old. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tayah, for those of you who do not know, and I try, emphasis on try, to make tons of lifestyle, career, and whatever else I want content here. So I hope you subscribe and stick around. And my work day in the life of a PR professional, I know you guys left a lot of sweet comments, thank you for that, but you guys left a lot of comments asking me to start a series or like at least have a few videos on like PR and comms and how I got my start, how you can get a job, how you can get internships, etc., within the field. So I decided to start that series finally after like 2 years. Here we are, we finally made it. We did it, Jeff. This series is gonna be called Tayah's, wait, hold on. Tayah's Professional Talks. And the PR, and the P and the R in professional is my fault. The PR in professional is capitalized. My mind, oh, it amazes me sometimes. If you have a better name, come up with it down below, but for right now, that's what we rock it with, period. From the title of today's video, you can already tell I'm gonna be talking about my journey into the PR and comms world, as well as spilling the tea on all things Penn State and their ad program, their ad and PR program, way into what their ad and PR program entails and the type of things that you should know if you're looking to get into the program. Before I jump into the video though, I did just want to throw in a few disclaimers and say I am filming in front of my window, so you might hear cars passing by. That's what cars do. That's what roads are made for. So I apologize if you hear any engines revving up. I live in Philly, so there's a lot of people on dirt bikes. The second thing that I wanted to say is I am going to be looking at my phone throughout the video just to make sure I have the most accurate information regarding the programs here at State, because that's all I need is for them to enter my comments and then they're like, all of this is cap and you need to take this down. So if you see me looking down at my phone, that's why. So getting into my actual journey at Penn State, which was a whirlwind. No, it really wasn't. Was it? So rewind all the way back to 2014. I graduated high school in, oh my God, May, was it May? May or June of 2014. And then I ended up going to Penn State Abington my freshman and sophomore year. And then I transferred up to main campus, which is Penn State University Park. Again, the main campus. So to provide a bit of context regarding Penn State Main and Penn State Abington, Penn State has a lot of satellite campuses or Commonwealth campuses, since Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth. So they have main campus, which is in University Park. Whenever you watch ESPN or you see any of those type of sizzle reels from the whiteout games in the stadium, that's always up at Penn State Main, period. Always that location. The satellite campuses really don't get that much love, if we be honest here. Like they do, but not really, because it's not main campus, you know. So they have Penn State Altoona, which I think Juicy Jazz and her husband Hector went to. They also have Penn State Abington, of course. They have Penn State Shenango, Harrisburg. They have so many different Penn State campuses, and I actually have a lot of friends that ended up doing the same thing as me, and they transferred from one of these satellite campuses to main campus, which is pretty cool. So that's called the 2+2 program. I think I talked about it a little bit in my other video, my very first video on this channel. Yikes, and you can tell it shows that that was my first video, because wasn't no editing, wasn't shit in that video but sirens, y'all. Again, no editing, just vibes. So, but if you want to check it out, I will link it up here, and you can just go on my channel and just like search for it. It's literally the first video. But it's called the 2+2 program. So essentially you begin 2 years at one Penn State campus, and then you finish your next 2 years or final 2 years at main campus or a different Commonwealth campus if you wanted to not go to Maine, but you wanted to go to like Altoona or Harrisburg, and you originally went to Abington or something like that. I had a few friends that did transfer from Penn State Abington and went to Altoona. So that's always an option as well. And then there's also World Campus, but that's all, you know, all that stuff. So yeah. So I ended up, so going back to my actual journey, so I ended up applying to Penn State Abington, and I applied as a psych major. What the fuck was I thinking? A psych major. No offense to my psych girlies and guys, y'all are doing it out here and we need y'all, but I am just not built. I'm not built for that field at all. I thought I was and I wasn't. My best friend Jocelyn, she actually went to Penn State Abington with me her first year and we took that psych class together. That was my major. I forget what her major was at the time, but we ended up taking it together because I think anybody could have took it. It was literally psych 101, I think it was, or psych 100. It was something very basic and standard like that, and it was a lecture hall, probably around 100 up to 200 students in that thing. And as soon as the teacher started, or the professor started talking about Sigmund Freud, I tapped out. I was like that Oprah clip. That was me. I cannot deal. Just how I dropped the class. Like, I don't know what I was thinking when I originally majored into psych. But anyways, after I realized psych wasn't for me, I went to my advisor at the time and I spoke with him and said, look, I can already tell from day one that psychology is just not going to be for me. Are there any other majors that are more aligned with my interests that you could probably just like give me an idea of, or like show me a list of? I've always been interested in reading and writing and English and history. Those have always been my favorite subjects and favorite classes to take in school. I even took a creative writing class in college because I loved it that much. And so I wanted to do something. I wanted my career to basically like be in that wheelhouse, but I didn't want to be a professor or a teacher. I didn't want to go to law school. I didn't want to do any of that stuff, be a historian, but I really wanted to at least have some of those elements incorporated into my career. So my advisor showed me, he literally printed out a list of the majors, all of the majors in the College of Communications at Penn State, now known as the Belisario College of Comm. And so I looked at the list of majors and he was like, knock yourself out. So I looked at the list of majors and I saw journalism, knew that wasn't for me either. I have a lot of friends that are in the journalism field, digital and print, as well as broadcast, and love them for it, appreciate them. I watch Clancy Burke all the time on here, but I just knew, again, I'm not built for that type of comms. So I completely skipped those and I landed on advertising and public relations. I was like, what the hell is that? I never noticed, I never like seen that before, but it looked interesting. So after I, highlighted that major, I took that list home with me and I ended up doing my own research and figured out what it was. So what is advertising and public relations? Advertising and PR are similar just because the goal is sharing a message with an audience or to your audience. So that's really what it's about. It's really getting your company, your client, whoever's message out there in a positive way. So for example, if one of my clients launched a new scholarship program, I'm just saying this as a hypothetical, if they launched a new scholarship program that would help children in underserved communities and helping them, go to college, that is something that's newsworthy. So that's something that I would pitch to education reporters and just, like local news and happening reporters and that type of stuff. So that's what they mean, or that's what it means when we talk about getting our message out there to our audience. It can range from that. It can, also be about more lighthearted and entertainment things. Like for example, if you're working with a client who maybe has a celebrity type of partnership and they want to highlight that in the media, you can pitch them as well. So there's so many different avenues of PR and comms, and I will make a video on that later since this is an ongoing series. Like I mentioned earlier, Tayah's professional talks. I'm going to make sure I make a video on the different avenues and different fields you can go into when it comes to PR. And so back to what I was saying, I researched all of that and I went back to my advisor the next day and said, hey, this is the major that I'm interested in. Who do I need to talk to in order to get in? So he gave me the phone number and contact information of one of the advisors up at Penn State, who is like the don of the ad and PR program up there when it comes to helping students get into the major, because there are requirements like with any college or university to get into the Penn State ad and PR program, and I will get into that now. So when I spoke with him, he did say, this is a competitive program. I will preface that and say the Penn State ad and PR program is pretty competitive because they try to restrict the amount of people that get into the program. It's a very popular major, especially now in the year 2021. So a lot of people are trying to get into the ad and PR field more so than telecom or journalism, at least from what I noticed during my time up at Penn State. So he told me from the jump I needed a 3.3 GPA or better. Yes, or close to it, like very close to it. They do make exceptions. So if you have like a 3.295 or something like that, they'll work with you depending on how many people applied for the major before you and got in. If people decided to say never mind and switch to something else, it really just depends on luck. And I hate to say that, but it really depends on luck in that regard if your GPA is close to that 3.3. But typically they're looking for a 3.3 GPA, and I think you also need a minimum of 120 credits. So actually, again, from when I was there, you needed a 3.3, but it looks like now you need a minimum of 3.25. So that is interesting, and that's actually a lot better than what I had to go through back in during that time. So good for y'all. I'm glad that y'all have a little bit more leeway to work with. So it looks like you need a minimum of 3.25. After the credit requirement, you also of course need to make sure you take the appropriate classes. So that is something that I will really preface and emphasize here as well. Please make sure you guys are checking the courses that make sure you're double checking the courses that you're adding to your roster and making sure that they align with the recommended PR academic plan, because you don't want to get caught up when it's senior year, period. So after he told me like all of those requirements, he said to just check out, of course, the website, and then to really see all of the courses. And then when I finally go up to Penn State, meet with him in person, and we can go through a plan of attack, basically. So he told me all of that, and then once I finished talking with him, I realized that shit, now I'm gonna have to leave Penn State Abington and go up to Penn State, Maine. And I should have said this in the beginning, but I always have been a mama's girl and like a family oriented person. So that's why I decided to go to Penn State Abington and not Penn State, Maine, just because I wasn't super ready to go away from home yet. But once I realized that this was the major I wanted to major in, I realized that there's no option and I have to go up there. And that was totally fine. Like I love my family and I am family oriented, but I'm still able to be independent and do my own thing. So after all that was said and done, I ended up moving up there after my sophomore year at Penn State Abington. So I finished 2 years at Penn State Abington, and that's where the 2+2 program comes into play. Finished my 2 years there, then I ended up going to main campus, and then that's when I really got into the nitty-gritty of the ad and PR program. So in terms of the ad and PR program itself, again, it's in the Donald Belisario College of Communications. Fun fact, if you guys watch Pretty Little Liars, the woman who played Spencer, what's her name again? Troyan Belisario. Her dad is the one that our College of Com is named after, because he attended Penn State. And I think he even wrote one of the very first scripts for NCIS. Legends only. Like, that's so cool to me. And she was up at Penn State and I didn't even get to meet her, but that's besides the point. So I was a huge Pretty Little Liars stan. But going back to me going up there, so once I got up there, I met with my advisor that I spoke with right away. He automatically became my advisor, so I spoke with him and we talked about the courses that I would need to take. So I'm gonna get into what those actual courses are. There are, and in the advertising and PR program, there are 2 tracks. So you can either go on the advertising track or you can go on the PR track. You don't really like take both ad and PR classes unless you have the like capacity or bandwidth in your schedule to do so, and if your advisor says like it's okay, essentially. I mean, you can take whatever classes you want, but again, you don't want to get caught up during your senior year. So I would really recommend talking to whoever your advisor is to make sure, hey, I want to take both PR and ad classes. You just got to make sure. But I think I did take like a few ad, like I think 1 or 2 ad classes because it overlapped with PR, but for the ones that are solely ad, I recommend talking with your advisor. So one of the very first classes, wow, this is taking me back. One of the very first classes that I took was Com 160 Basic News Writing, and that was 1 credit. This class was very interesting. It was all about basic news writing, so I ended up learning what a byline was, what a headline was, how to do chronological order, the way that the story should be written in, and all of that stuff. So I thought this was very valuable, even though journalism wasn't my first passion or anything like that, and I knew I didn't want to work in it. I still thought that it was valuable because you are going to be working with reporters as a public relations professional. That's just something you cannot get out of or get around. You have to work with reporters because that's really one of the only ways your client can get in the media or in the news. I also had to take a bunch of gen eds, of course, so English 15, which was rhetoric and composition. They also have English 30, which is the honors freshman composition, but I was not in that. Even though I loved English, I was not taking honors anything after high school. After high school, I said, oh no, because I did take honors English, and I also took honors French when I was in high school, but after that I said, okay, no, we're done now. So I took the regular English 15, that was 3 credits, and then you also have to take a foreign language, and you have to take 4 credits of that. So when I got into college, my junior year, when I got into college, when I got to Penn State, Maine, I ended up taking Spanish all throughout. So I took an accelerated Spanish course because of the way my schedule was set up, and because of me being a transfer student, I was in a different position than other people. So in order to graduate on time, which was May 2018 for me, I had to take like an honors or an advanced Spanish class that had more credits so I can graduate on time. And let me tell y'all, those classes were something. I took Spanish, I would have to look back, but it was like the honors Spanish. So I'll go back and let y'all know which one it was. They weren't like super hard, I guess I would say. I always wanted to learn another language. I'm not fluent by any means, but I held my own in the class, and I ended up getting a B+, so for all of the classes, so that's great. I also took Econ 102, which was introductory microeconomic analysis and policy, and that's 3 credits. I don't know why there's all this discourse from the girlies and the guys on social media talking about how they hate microeconomics, but y'all, I enjoyed it. I actually liked micro. I thought it was pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy. Like, now could I do it now? Oh, I don't know. If you put a textbook in front of me, I don't know. I might have to go on Chegg or Course Hero, but I did enjoy it when I was there. I did go to office hours a lot, so that helped. But you can either take that or take Psych 100. Y'all know I dropped that, so I had to take microeconomics. Then you also had to take 3 credits of natural sciences. That's all it says. I don't know. I think I took biology science. It was called Bi-Sci, but I ended up Bi-Sci 3. I think that's what I took, and that was during my sophomore year at Penn State. That was a lecture hall. Science is not really my jam, so it was fine. I got through it, but you know, And then they also have a first year seminar, which is 1 credit. I didn't take that. I don't think I did I? I might have, but first year seminar. And then that all equals up to, that's 1 credit, and that all equals up to 15 credits. And that should be for your first semester. Your second semester should be natural sciences again, 3 credits, any natural sciences course, I guess. Humanities, 3 credits, a foreign language, 4 credits again. You have to take either Psych 100 or Econ 102 if you didn't take it, I guess, the first semester, or if you did something different. And then you also have to take CAS 100, which was effective speech. That is 3 credits, and that class was a public speaking class. I enjoyed it. Again, it was very nerve-wracking because you have to public speak, but I actually enjoyed the class, and I learned a lot, and I was able to speak in presentations. I still have a few flaws, of course. I still say like so, anyways, etc., a lot, and move my hands, but it still taught me a nice amount of stuff. So then after you do all those gen eds, because you got to still take a few gen eds before you even get to your actual core classes, so your 400 level courses, which are for your actual major. So after you take all those gen eds and get those out the way, and you meet with your advisor, and y'all say you're good to go, that's when you move on to the actual courses. So let's get into the actual classes I took for PR. So the first one was Com 370, Intro to Public Relations. That was 3 credits. I actually really enjoyed that class. That one, I didn't learn a lot of, or I didn't get a lot of hands-on experience with that because it was just an intro class. We learned what is PR, who can go into PR? How can you go into PR? And our professor really just showed us a lot of adverts throughout the years of, this is a good ad, this is a bad ad, and all of that stuff. But it was nice. It was a nice class. It was a lecture hall. A lot of people were in there. We had to use the iClicker stuff, so, you know, but that was my first like real intro into PR, and I enjoyed it. Then I had to take Stat 200. Give it up for her. Give it up for Stat 200. That class kicked my ass. Like, I took, y'all, I'm not even, no cap. I went to 2 classes out of that entire course. The third class, if I would have went to the third class, it would have been our exam. Tell me why I dropped it the night before. Just tell me why. Do I recommend doing something like that? No, but if you are very up to speed with your schedule and roster and you're in constant communication with your advisor, yeah, I did it. So I ended up dropping it, and I took the class at a community college over the summer. So that's something else that a lot of universities and colleges across the US, I'm pretty sure, offer, is that type of transferring credits program. So if you end up dropping a class because of financial reasons or just because of difficulty reasons, like the level of it is very difficult to grasp, you can talk with your advisor and see if it's possible to take that same class at a different university or college for either a lower price or, of course, at a more manageable learning speed, and transfer your credits over from that university back to your actual university, and you can get the credits that way. And that's what I did for Stat 200. That's what a lot of people did for Stat 200 because it was so difficult. If you're a Penn Stater and you took that class, comment down below, because if you know, you know. Math is not one of my strong suits, just like science, really, but that took me out. I had to go to the CCP route, Community College of Philadelphia. That's where I took it. Got a B in it. It was smooth. It was online, so I got through it, and I actually learned stuff. Like, I actually understood the concepts. Then I took Com 260W, which was news writing and reporting, 3 credits. This was basically an advanced level of the Com 160 course that you take in the very beginning of your ad and PR career or journey up at Penn State. And this one, again, was more advanced, so I actually really had to write hard-hitting stories and stories that followed the AP style format, and also followed, you know, the that also followed the bylines and all of that type of stuff. So I actually had to, sorry y'all, my camera just cut off. I had to actually interview people and go out into the field and find stories and report on them. It was a lot. That class was a lot. It took a lot out of me. You would have thought it was an internship or something. So it was great. Like, it taught me a lot, and I learned a lot. Again, working with reporters is something that you do on a consistent basis, so that class really helped. But still, it was a lot of work. And again, shout out to my journ girlies and guys, because writing those stories, whoo child. Then you have to still take, like, you know, another like arts elective, and I'm really now just focusing on the actual courses within comms. If you want to know more specific gen eds, I would recommend going on their website or speaking with an advisor. Then I also had to take Com 420, research methods in advertising and PR. So this is where the stat class was supposed to come into play. Y'all, tell me why we didn't use those statistics up in that class. I don't know why they kept saying this class, the Stat 200, is going to translate into Com 420. For me, it did not. So I don't know what they were talking about, but this class is what it says in the name. It's all about research, applying qualitative and quantitative data and analysis to listening groups and listening sessions that you do have to participate in sometimes in PR. For my last job, I did have to sit in a few listening sessions, and I remembered pretty much everything that I learned in Com 420, and so I'm very grateful for that. But it was a very, I don't want to say this is 3 credits, but it felt like it was 6 credits. That's really how it felt, because there was so much that you had to do. You had to, of course, attend the regular lecture hall, but then you also had to, of course, participate in the class with the clicker. You also had to go to labs for certain days throughout the week and work in smaller groups and work with some of your classmates on projects and worksheets and just all of this stuff. And it was oh, first world problem, oh, world small, that's why I went playing. But no, it was a lot. But I liked it overall, but at the same time, I do feel as though the class was a little sporadic in terms of what we were learning from time to time. So I don't know, but it is a requirement and you have to take it. You can't graduate with an ad and PR degree from this school without taking that class. And then there was additional comm classes like Comm 320, Comm 373, 401. So the next main course is Comm 471, PR, Media, and Methods. This class was good, but the professor that I had was interesting. I ain't gonna say too much else about that, but besides that, the class was actually very helpful. I learned a lot of hands-on experience in this class. So you do get to learn how to draft a press release. You get to learn how to draft a memo, pitch a reporter, how you would go about pitching a reporter. I learned how to make an infographic. I learned how to do a lot of different things in this class, and I really enjoyed it. Me and 2 other classmates we were all paired up in a group, and we had to make a public relations strategy and proposal. I apologize if you hear that clicking noise in the background, it's our heater. But anyway, we had to put together a proposal from start to finish for this local business up there and help them drive sales and increase their social media presence and getting their name out there in the press, the local press, and all of that stuff. So it was really interesting to see it come to life and to see the behind the scenes process. So I think that is one of the most impactful classes within the comms, within the ad PR track, like what courses you have to take. I think that's one of the most impactful classes, to be honest, because you actually get to learn the stuff that you're going to be doing for the most part. There are some things, depending on the professor, it can be a little dated, because my one professor had us drafting like 3-page memos, and I'm sorry, but nobody is reading a 3-page memo in this day and age. So I don't know why that was what it was, but whatever. And then one of the other classes that I should have mentioned, I took Comm 373. This is one of those additional comms courses that I said in the beginning. This was so good, I loved it. The professor for this course was the same professor I had for the Intro to PR course, and I loved him. He did a great job with this class as well. We learned how to draft a press release in the event a crisis happened. So we used a tragic event, unfortunately, as an example. So just did a lot of like crisis monitoring in general. We learned how to do that. So you go on Google and like do Google alerts and media alerts and look through the news and see if your client is mentioned in anything catastrophic. So we learned about that. We also learned about just different crises in general and how each firm or each company handled it. So we talked about the BP oil spill. We also talked about and how that was handled, and we also just talked about a hodgepodge of things. So that class is really insightful. And then at the end, you're paired up with a nice amount of people. I think my group was, no lie, 10 people, which was so, I guess he broke it up into like team A and team B. I have no idea, but I had a lot of people in my group, and we had to put together a crisis report / plan for us, like if a hypothetical tragic incident was to take place up at the school, we had to put together messaging that spoke to that. So that, I learned a lot from that class as well. But going back to the final like main course that you have to take, Comm 473, Public Relations Problems. But it is a campaign course. This is where I met my second favorite professor in this course. If you want to know the names of the professors I'm mentioning, just comment down below and I'll let you know, but I ain't gonna put it in the video. I ain't gonna put their business all out there in the video at least. So I ended up taking this course, and this was another one where I got a lot of hands-on experience. Week 1, we started putting together a campaign for, I think, a local initiative right from the jump. I think our topic was street safety for college students, because you know, a lot of the times we just be walking out in the middle of the street, not paying attention, got our headphones in, looking at our phones, all of that stuff. So we had to put together a campaign on how we can get students more engaged and like thinking about their safety when walking on the street. And it was a very interesting topic to try to make engaging, because like street safety, like we get it, but okay. But we ended up getting through it, and we did a really good job. I felt as though on the presentation and on the actual like plan itself, we had to dress up and present it in front of people, and we had to really talk about what we did and why we decided to go with this type of plan or strategy. But I really enjoyed that class. It was more intimate. Everybody, you could tell, was really interested in PR and really interested in the field, so I like that about everyone in the class. But those are the main courses that you have to take when it comes to the actual PR track. Again, there are a few gen eds and all of that, but I'm really speaking to the main PR courses you would take. Again, I was not on the advertising track, so all my advertising people, I'm sorry, but like that ain't in this video. Like, I don't know nothing about the advertising side, but with the exception of a few classes here and there sprinkled in. So that was my PR journey. We'll leave you guys with just a few pieces of advice after all of this is said and done. The first thing is, I know I kept saying throughout the video and in the beginning, but please, child, make sure y'all talk to y'all advisors, because the last thing y'all want is to apply for graduation and that screen says denied. You don't want that to happen. And please make sure you visit them regularly. Don't wait until your senior year or your second semester of your senior year, 3 weeks before graduation, and then you're gonna meet with them and be like, so I'm on track, right, to graduate, right? Like, I should just be able to apply and we'll be fine. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Please meet with them regularly and always make sure you're in constant communication with them. They have thousands and thousands of students that they have to work with every day, so they don't have time to chase you around and flag you down. Your roster is not where it's supposed to be at. Nope. That's on you. You are now in college. You got to be proactive and meet with them on a regular basis. I was always talking with my advisor because I did not want to end up as a super senior. I'm just saying. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I would preface is that just making sure that you are sure about which track you want to go. So whether it's ad or PR, again, I know I only spoke about PR in this video, but there is an advertising track. So just make sure you know which field or avenue you want to go in. And if you want to sprinkle a few classes in here or there, again, talk with your advisor. But once you do finish all of those courses up, your degree will say your name, the school name, and for Penn State, the school name, and it'll also say advertising / public relations. So your degree won't say advertising, it won't just say PR or public relations, it will have both listed. But it's of course understood and up to you that you have to disclose that you majored in PR, or you went the PR route, or you were on the advertising track. Certificate and whatever minor you get will also say whatever the minor was you're in. So mine actually says digital media trends and analytics. Before DMTA, I was a sociology minor. I was just all over the place, and it would have said sociology, of course, if I would have finished with soc, but I didn't. So those are really all of the items that I wanted to discuss in this video. Like I said, this was my journey, my personal experience, and how I got into the PR industry in terms of the groundwork in college, and then what courses I took and how those helped me. So overall, I thought the Penn State Ad and PR program was great. I actually really thought it was a great comprehensive program, and they did a good job at really showing the different types of things you'll be doing. Yes, there are some courses or professors that do teach outdated methods, and they really need to fix that. So y'all need to update the curriculum, because the PR and comms industry keeps changing rapidly. Like, social media technology is changing literally every second, and some of these practices that some of these older professors had, it's like we're not, no offense, but it's like we're not in the 80s anymore. We gotta make sure we're also keeping up with what's going on now and how to effectively be how to be an effective PR pro or an effective social media strategist or advertising professional, etc. So that's all I gotta say. But other than that, that is it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I mentioned, I will be sure to film more videos about my internship process, how I search for internships, how I search for jobs, what you need in order to do that, what type of things you should be thinking about and even talking about in your interview process or interviews with employers, etc. So I will be filming all of those videos. They are coming. This is going to be a part of that series with the lovely name I told you guys about. So if you're interested in finding more content regarding PR and my journey and all of that, make sure you subscribe, turn on your post notifications, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.